Okay, so we have a new episode of Legends and Leaders, and today it's great to have Yoni here. Yoni, you're behind one of the most important, I would say, contributions to the world of investing and of finance in recent history. I mean, what you've done is you've enabled a lot of people to get educated in the financial markets and actually make informed decisions when they invest. You've given them a platform to do that. You've made it these social aspects to it that a lot of smart people can go and contribute and share their ideas. And I think it's been really helpful to get people interested and to also help them earn more over time. So I'm excited to have you here and to get into your story.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. So how did your interest in financial markets and entrepreneurship, like how did this passion to build this type of business begin?
So actually, my passion to capital markets started very early on. I started trading stocks when I was about 13. And ever since, my first trade, I fell in love in capital markets. I then became a programmer, and sort of one of my first development projects was actually writing an options calculator. And ever since, I've always loved the intersection between technology and between the markets. So I love the markets. I think it connects everyone. I always say three technologies that sort of reminded me one of each other is the internet, which enabled us to connect information across the globe, the markets, which enabled us to connect money across the globe, and then blockchain, which later came into my life, that really builds sort of the potential future of financial services.
So you were interested in connecting people in finance. That was like the initial idea.
I think a lot in finance and capital markets, in order to succeed, you need to always have sort of access and be able to learn from the best and copy from the best. We founded eToro 17 years ago in 2007 with the vision of opening the markets for everyone to trade and invest in a simple and transparent way. And ever since I've been growing the platform, it's a open social investment network. We have 37 million registered users into our free social network where our customers can actually follow one another, talk to one another about the different markets, stocks from 20 different stock markets, crypto markets. And the unique part of eToro is you actually see the performance, you see the track record of all of our investors, and then you can automatically copy the most successful investors on our platform.
Yeah, I think that is one of the best aspects of your platform. Like, how did that idea originate? Because it really differentiates you. And if you don't know about investing, you could just go and follow what the best guys are doing.
Well, when we started eToro, we started with a vision of really hacking the user experience. We wanted to simplify it. I've been a trader and investor since I was 13. I started eToro together with my older brother, and he always used to make fun of me that I have an accountant hobby, sitting with multiple screens with lots of numbers. So the ideation around eToro was really, how do we make it simpler to access the markets? And once we did that, we realized it's not only about creating accessibility and opening the markets to creating that access and lowering the barriers to entry with fractional shares and no commission stock trading. It's also about how do you simplify the educational part of the markets? How do we help people really understand that they can make money in the markets? And we realized it's about actually seeing what other people are doing. And we saw that because we had a small chat part when we launched the platform back in 2008. And we saw that the most engaging the most engaging feature of the platform was people talking in the chat to one another. So from that, we basically built the social investment network as sort of the front of the entire eToro global brokerage business.
Mhm. And Yoni, how did you get the first version built? Like, were you guys building this yourselves? Like, how did you figure out how to get it made?
So I'm a developer. I actually, our third co-founder, Dudu, was studying masters in computer sciences together with me. And my brother is actually a designer. So we were just sitting and hacking around for probably a year before we had the first product demo. The first product demo was actually connecting to my parents' basement to a server, which was then connected to the internet, to the markets through an API. But that's how we started. We just were, three people at the beginning. We built the software. We presented it to investors. And after our first fundraising, we started sort of building the product itself in about a year after launch the product to the markets.
And what would you say like the first version looked like? Like, what was it even capable of?
Well, it had some social features. It enabled people to sort of see who's online and ask them questions, sort of see a profile name and ask them questions. And it was a desktop app, right? This is prior to phones. This is prior to cloud. So a desktop app, which was super simplified. So we really created like a super simplified interface to access the markets. Part of it was almost gamified to the point of really looking at this sort of how do we make it simple and engaging. And then later on, as we progressed, we added more and more pro features, which I don't think are pro, but sort of more advanced features for people who want to trade more assets, more markets, understand better sort of their exposures, the risk, and then added on top of that the layer of the social network.
So it already did start with like a difference with these social features kind of built in from the beginning.
it, Maybe it was the first version, maybe it was the second version, but I think in 2008 we already had the social elements. Those social was something a bit different. This was like really the beginning of Web 2.0. So this was like an actual chat on a download application on your desktop.
Mhm. So how are you thinking about like getting initial users? Like, were you just trying to do word of mouth? Like, how did you sell this to people to be on this new platform?
So we actually took a lot from the concept of like performance marketing,
Mhm.
what's known now as performance marketing or data-driven marketing. And as we launched the platform, we were one of the first companies in the world who actually enabled you to open a brokerage account online and deposit funds with a credit card or a debit card immediately. So those sort of the simplicity of the online funnel created the ability to actually work with a lot of different platforms and partners to distribute eToro and to actually create an affiliate program, and the concept of saying, okay, we're bringing customers and it costs us X amount of money to bring a customer, and the value of that customer is 3 or 4x, and let's scale continuously marketing as we improve also the product and the funnel and the experience.
Hmm. So you're already thinking about like affiliates because I think affiliates been huge for you guys.
Affiliates and partners have been a significant part of how we launched the platform also in many different jurisdictions. One of the unique parts of eToro, still our home market, is Europe and the UK. We are the platform itself in its is in more than I think 14 different languages or maybe 16 different languages. So we were able to work with local partners to promote eToro and make sure that we know how to pay them really based on performance and scale that up. In the first years of eToro, if you're thinking of startup terms, I think we went from $5 million in 2008 to $15 million roughly 2009 to about $25 million in 2010, again, very roughly. So very sort of high growth and sort of pushing the initial eToro brand out there.
When it eventually got to the point of like the mobile app and like the mobile world, like how impactful was that to eToro?
It was very impactful. I'd say this was roughly 2014, 15. We had to make a couple of sort of big decisions. So we went from desktop first. We were the first company to actually develop a web trader. Before Interactive Broker, this was like 2011, 12, a flash-based web trader. And then we started developing what was back then the open book, which is the social network layer that was on top of the web trader. And when we started looking at mobile, we said, okay, let's try to at least have one code base for Apple, iOS, and web in our new version. We called it back then the new eToro. And we were working quite closely, we still do, with Facebook. And I remember I went to Ireland, which is back then, this was before they actually had an office in Israel, and we used to go to Facebook to sort of talk to them about online marketing. And I remember like a lot of people in Facebook, and Mark was talking about this publicly, was saying sort of mobile first. We need to go mobile first. So I actually took that inspiration and we went mobile first, and we said every single feature we want to build will be built first for the unified code base. And had to make a very hard decision of actually killing the desktop app just because of resources. We couldn't handle like 3 platforms in parallel: the desktop, the Flash, the new eToro, and the open book. So even 4 platforms. And I remember back then, like investors, this was just before us doing, I think it was round C or round D. And a lot of the investors were telling us, "Are you crazy? You're kidding. Like traders have to use their desktop app. They have to use multiple screens. People won't really trade on your phone. It's too small to actually make decisions." And I'd say the rest is history. Today, more than 90% of activity and logins are done on the phone, of course.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, now it makes a lot of sense. But like you mentioned before, the desktop was like the big thing that was kind of different about you guys initially. So that was a huge decision.
It was a huge decision. We always had also the debt, so we never let go of what others are calling now the web desktop, right? So we always had the sort of fully fledged charts, technical analysis, those parts on the platform. It just moved to a web view instead of a desktop download app, right? So those were sort of a bit of extinct, moved to the web, then moved to mobile. And again, over the past 17 years, I've seen a lot of significant transitions. Some of them we've done sort of too early, like buying Bitcoin. That's not too early. That's just actually not too aggressive. But we bought like Bitcoin for $5 per Bitcoin and $10 per Bitcoin back in 2011, 12. We launched Bitcoin in 2013 just to see the first market crash of Bitcoin, and then like nobody touched it for 3-4 years. But then obviously in 2016, 17, we've seen the surge of crypto, and with that, the engagement and online acquisition and everything in eToro, every super cycle, which I hope is starting now as well. We're enjoying very much the rise of crypto and how sort of all of the boats in eToro rise with a tide because more people are engaged with the markets, more people like seeing green, obviously. So again, we've always been able to identify market trends, go after them, sometimes a bit too early, sometimes right at the right time, and pivot a bit the company and product strategy to make sure that we facilitate the right products to our customers.
So you've been a big believer in crypto, Yoni, especially before a lot of other people have. I mean, you mentioned how early you guys were getting into Bitcoin. What drew you to blockchain? What drew you to cryptocurrency? Why were you so willing to embrace this when others weren't at that time?
So when we just launched eToro, this was 2008 during the global financial crisis. And for me as like a tech entrepreneur, this was before the term fintech existed, that I realized like how fragile the entire world of finance is. Like it really felt like banks were pulling the plug out of the system. And I started writing about what eventually became our nonprofit project, Good Dollar. I was writing about like the need of a 24/7 distributed ledger technology to enable a new digital currency for the internet. And then in 2010, when I saw Bitcoin and downloaded like the initial Bitcoin software and started mining it and sending it, I was like, wow, this was for me an aha moment. This is how money actually needs to work. So I got super excited about Bitcoin very early on. I like took the very hard sort of transition to eToro to we have to support this. And back then we also wrote the Colored Coins protocol. We had a lot of the OGs sort of supporting the concept of tokenization. Tether was almost launched on the Colored Coins protocol we developed in eToro. Vitalik Buterin was a part of building that protocol with us and sort of creating back then Bitcoin maximalism, as he suggested to set up a new blockchain, and everybody was shouting there should be only one blockchain. So a lot of exciting times, early days of crypto. I'm still a big believer both in the asset class, Bitcoin as digital gold, as well as the potential of blockchain technology to completely transform the world of financial services. I think smart contracts have huge amounts of untapped opportunities once regulation sort of puts real assets on top of blockchain, on top of blockchains, and people can really interact with everything from stocks to bonds to central bank digital currencies to digital currencies and digital assets. I think that's going to be a huge inflection point for the entire digital asset economy.
I think we are getting closer to that. I mean, you see the way like Goldman talks about this, Goldman Sachs, and like they've talked about how the economy and like trading items that are based on blockchain would just be much more efficient. So hopefully we will get to that point. I'm sure those will be able to be traded on eToro too.
Definitely, and we've seen this. When I was passionate about capital markets, and I think it was 96, 7, 8. Everybody was talking about the internet. You had the dot-com bubble that then burst, and then people thought, oh, the internet's going to die. I think now, and especially, today, we're, I think, another all-time high for Bitcoin, another all-time high for crypto or digital asset market cap. I think there's no doubt we're getting closer to that. The technology itself and how smart contracts work and how blockchain work, that's inevitable. And a 24/7 digital asset transferability on a global scale, that's inevitable. So when you look at technologies that are inevitable, eventually they'll become the standard. The question is how long it takes, and to make sure you make the right decision in that process to navigate the time until something becomes the standard.
Definitely. You've also been involved in Yoni and blockchain in a bunch of different other ways. Like one was Good Dollar Foundation, and you were trying to create this like universal basic income like framework. What made you so interested in building something that would provide this new type of income stream to people?
So a big part of the vision of eToro, and therefore also our nonprofit Good Dollar, is that we believe everyone should be educated about the markets. I think financial literacy is super important. I think it's under promoted in both Western countries, in both developing countries and developed countries. I think everybody needs to understand how the markets work and understand how to utilize financial tools. Second is there's a big issue of financial inclusion. So when we operated eToro at the beginning, we had customers really from all over the world. And then gradually we had to sort of decide we focused on the regulated developed markets. So I realized that it's actually much harder for a fintech entrepreneur from a for-profit company to be able to provide services that are eventually good for people, in Africa or in some places in Latin America, because it's actually much harder to set up the right regulated structure and the right also sort of for-profit schematics. And the third part is my view is that if you look at a lot of people that are talking about universal basic income, and this is a concept of like 300 years old, but you also see Elon Musk and Warren Buffett and Mark Zuckerberg talking about it. One of the biggest problems in today's world is sort of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And a lot of the rich people, especially in tech, actually don't want to change that paradigm, but nobody's trusting government to do that, right? So nobody wants government to tax you more for them to distribute money in an inefficient way through different social programs. So some might, but I'm not I'm more of a libertarian on that part. And the idea was if there was a currency, if there was a digital currency, and get back to 2008 when I wrote the paper, that works in a transparent 24/7 ledger, and that interest rate is the opposite of what it is today, which means today interest rate works that the people who have more money get more money from interest rate, but people who have debt or less money make very, very few, or not at all. They actually need to pay the interest rate. What if you flip that around and actually you made sure that interest rate is paid for the ones who need it most? And that eventually led us to build the Good Wallet and the Good Dollar, which is an open source, free Web 3.0 wallet where anybody in the world can just claim every day good dollars, which is not a lot. It's like 1 or 2 cents. But that's the idea, right? We're finding people who are willing to sort of log in and claim every day 1, 2 cents. And we're seeing amazing stories, a lot of it like in third world countries where people are using it, eventually being able to claim enough to buy things like airtime or even food and even education with good dollars. So again, our thinking is it supports financial education, because anybody in the world can set up an account. It supports financial inclusion, because anybody in the world can set up a free Web3 account and not risk money to actually start utilizing and using digital currencies. And in the Holy Grail, it supports financial equality, because it gives more people the opportunity to participate in financial markets.
I know also like a lot of the work, Yoni, you've done at eToro has provided a great opportunity for people to make their situations, their financial situations much better. Like, what is the impact that you're most proud of? Like, maybe there's some stories that you can share, like things that have happened because of your education focus at eToro.
I always love meeting our clients and sort of hearing their feedback, or reading positive feedback from our clients. I think for me, the one of the biggest parts of pride is our popular investor program. Today, out of 3.2 million brokerage accounts that have about $13+ billion in eToro, we have 3,200 popular investors. So those are the people who enroll into the program and say, we want to be copied by other people. And if they get copied, we actually train them as professional money managers as they sort of tier up in the program, and they get paid on an assets under copy. So we have today, I think it's more than a dozen that already have more than $10 million copying them. Our top PI has about $100 million copying them. And when I meet our popular investors, those who look at this as potentially their future profession, some of them actually have left their jobs and solely do that. They're just, popular investors on eToro as a profession. Sometimes they even hire some people to help them. I think for them, we really change the trajectory of what they're doing in life and what they're interested in. And as we always target people who are passionate about capital markets, when I see that passion translates into people who are willing to sort of devote and invest more time in learning the markets, participating in the markets, talking to one another, that gets me very proud and excited about eToro.
Yeah, it's also just a great idea, and it's a new way for these people to really earn an income that, I mean, who knows if they ever would have set up their own funds outside of this? They probably wouldn't have.
Probably wouldn't have, right? So if you think of a lot of our popular investors, they're coming from European countries. Some of our, I think our top female investor or second one is coming from Slovenia. So you think of people coming from different countries in the world suddenly actually managing other people's money through the eToro platform, where those other eToro users are coming from maybe 50 different countries, right? So that doesn't exist in traditional portfolio management. And it's all about eventually connecting people and enabling people to connect to like-minded, smart investors. And it's exciting to see people from, we had the Popular Investor Summit recently in the UK once a year. We invite our top popular investors to meet them and to train with professional asset managers and conversations about the markets. And I think we had popular investors from more than 60 different countries coming to the event.
It's amazing. So what do you want to accomplish now? Like, what are some short-term goals, long-term goals you have for eToro, for yourself, Yoni? Like, what are areas like you're interested in really developing now?
Well, definitely, we're very focused on AI. I think AI creates, again, a paradigm shift that's no different than, crypto and mobile. So if I look at the last 17 years, significant sort of shifts was maybe Web 2.0, crypto, mobile, lowering barriers to entry. And now I think AI is becoming a very significant moment for financial services. I think the biggest difference is that in the past, we were very cautious about having eTorians provide financial advice, because we understand the importance of giving the right advice to the right people. I've done my sort of regulated studies of financial advice when I was about 18. And I think with AI now, from the basics of how much data do we have about our customers and how strong new LLMs are becoming, and we're training our models now on sort of learning different models of financial advice and learning different strategies of investing based on the financial advice theory. So I think that changes a lot, sort of the entire industry, to the point where a lot of people need to ask somebody a question or want to get somebody's advice. and can we provide that, and how can we provide that with AI over time, and how can we collect more data about a person? What's his stage in life? Not only his income, but does he have kids? How much does he earn? Where is his pension? And can we really understand all of the financial accounts of a customer to really provide sort of a family office level advice to retail investors? And I think that's a significant change happening in the industry.
So it's going to get more personalized.
It's going to get a lot more personalized, definitely.
Well, Yoni, that was all the questions that I had. I appreciate you taking the time and doing this. I think you built something really incredible, and I know it's helped a lot of people. I've met people that have used eToro. I've used eToro before. It's a great platform. And I think that the education aspect that you have has really pushed a lot of other people to really focus on getting educated in this space and making smart decisions. And so I'm excited to see where you take it next and what other contributions you're going to have to positively impact the world. Thanks for coming on and doing this.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome.